was in the family. And then when it was time for salah, he would just get up and leave and go pray salah and come back and he would sit with us. So when he was at home, it wasn't like he was imposing himself, oh, I'm a big sheikh, I'm big mufti, you come here do this for me, you come here do that for me. He was just a normal husband. We loved being in his company. The Prophet ﷺ, he had a great time with his wives. Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that before the Prophet ﷺ would leave the house, many times before he would leave, he would kiss me on the cheek and then he would leave. And the Hanafi scholars, they use this hadith as their dalil to say that the touching of a lady with a man's skin does not break the wudu. They use this hadith as their proof. They say that the Prophet ﷺ would kiss Aisha radiallahu anha on the cheek before going to lead salah. Right, you look at this. Where do you find a husband like this? Where do you find a man who's so complete, who has such good recommendations from everyone in the community, where everyone's saying this man was amazing? You want to learn the life of the Prophet ﷺ? Let's not nitpick and choose what we're going to take from his life. Let's take the whole picture. Everyone wants to talk about the Prophet ﷺ had 10 wives, and he had 11 wives, and he had this and he had that. The critics always use this as a target to attack Islam. But they don't talk about how he treated those 10 wives. Does anyone ever talk about that? Does anyone ever talk about how each of those 10 wives never married again after he ﷺ passed away because of his love? Anyone ever talk about that? Anyone ever talk about when the Prophet ﷺ used to sit next to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and he would eat from the same plate as her? Where in Arab society that was considered as something bad for a husband, a man to eat on the same plate as a lady. He would sit down and eat with his wives. And not only eat with them, he would sit next to them and eat. And he would put a morsel in their mouth and they would put a morsel in his mouth. And Aisha radiallahu anha says that one day I was eating with the Prophet ﷺ. And while I was eating with him, the Prophet ﷺ, he gave me a cup of water and I drank from there. And after I drank from there, I put the cup down. The Prophet ﷺ picked up that very same cup and he began to spin it. He was looking for my lip marks. And then he drank from the exact same place where I drank from. You want a Romeo, you will love, look at Muhammad ﷺ. He was a perfect, well-rounded man. And the Prophet ﷺ wasn't harsh and mean with his women. He was always smiling, kathir tabassum. He was always smiling and laughing and joking. He's racing with Aisha radiallahu anha. When, how old is he at that time? He's over 55 years old, almost. Right? In some narration, he was 53 years old. Right? He's returning back from a battle. He couldn't be 53 because that battle took place after the Battle of Badr. Right? He was over 55 years old and he's racing. Which 55-year-old man today can race his wife? Right? Without falling over with a heart attack. Let me add that clause. Who can do that today? No one can. The Prophet ﷺ was so humble that he lets her win. And then after a few years later, he says to Aisha, let's race again. And they race again. And the Prophet ﷺ beats Aisha radiallahu anha. And then he says to her, the first time I let you win too. Don't think you beat me. He was so humble. His wife Aisha radiallahu anha says, the Messenger of Allah, there's a street. They're playing sports in the streets. I want to go watch it. I want to go watch the game. The Prophet ﷺ, he stands at the door, and Aisha radiallahu anha, she gets on her tippy toes and she's peeking over the shoulder of the Prophet ﷺ. Imagine how beautiful that scene was.